What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and I'm going to be doing a Awalt deck profile. So I'm really excited to you guys because this deck is a really unique deck that revolves around stopping your opponent from attacking you while you're attacking them directly, which is absolutely insane and super fun to be able to do. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like your name script in every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon, along with test stands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Awalt Giraffe, which is a really good 3-of in the deck that has the ability, this card can attack your opponent directly, which all of your non-tuner Awalt monsters actually share that ability for the ones that we're playing in this deck. And it also has the ability that when this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent by direct attack, your opponent cannot activate spell, trap, or trap effects or monster effects until the end phase's turn, pretty much turning off the entire turn for your opponent after this card attacks your opponent directly. We then play 3 copies of Awalt Cobra. Awalt Cobra is, in my opinion, the best in the entire deck because it has the ability that this card can attack your opponent directly, and when this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent by direct attack, you can add a Awalt monster from your deck to your hand, which is great for this card to be as a searcher because it can search additional copies of itself to be able to give you multiple searches per turn, which is absolutely insane. We then play 3 copies of Awalt Pheasant. Awalt Pheasant is a good 3-of as well in the deck because this card can attack your opponent directly, and when this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent by a direct attack, you can select a face-up monster on the field and banish it until the end phase of this turn, which can help out if your opponent has an XZ monster on the field. By banishing that card, it will lose its materials, which is really good. We then play 2 copies of Awalt Kiwi, which is actually my favorite in the entire deck. We're only playing this card because it's a level 3 tuner monster in the deck. It does have a really unique effect that Awalt monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle while they are attacking, which is kind of a neat effect, but since we're attacking directly, the effect doesn't really come up that much, but it is a really good card to help us synchro summon in this deck. We then play 2 copies of Awalt Fox. Awalt Fox is a good 2-of in the deck as well, because it is a level 2 tuner monster to help us go into some really good synchro plays, and it does have the ability, if this card is destroyed by your opponent's card, either by battle or by card effect, then your opponent cannot special summon a monster or activate spell or trap effects or monster effects for the rest of the turn, pretty much turning off their entire turn, which is really a great effect. We then play 3 copies of Mahunder. Mahunder is a good card in the deck as well because once per turn, you can normal summon a level 4 Light Thunder monster from your hand, which is a lot of our different Awalt monsters that you can summon to the field to make a rank 4 play, like your copy of Utopia Double to help you go in for game. So this card is a definite 3-of in this deck. We then play 2 copies of Thunder Seahorse. Thunder Seahorse is a really good card to be able to retrieve some of your cards because it has the ability to discard this card and then add 2 level 4 Light Thunder monsters with the same name with 1600 or less attack from your deck to your hand, and you can only use effect this card once per turn, and you can't special summon monsters during the turn you activate this effect, which is totally fine because we get to search out our Awalt monsters that we need directly to our hand, like our copies of Awalt Cobra, which then can attack directly and then give us an additional search, which is really good. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Monster Reborn. Monster Reborn helps us out a lot because it gets our Awalt monsters back on our side of the field so we can continue attacking directly with them, which is really good. We then play a single copy of Double or Nothing. Double or Nothing is just in case we see an OTK in the deck, you can pull it off with Double or Nothing because you can basically use this card by summoning out Utopia Double, detaching a material from Utopia Double, searching this card, making a copy of Utopia. It comes out at 5,000 attack points, and if your opponent does have a monster on the field that has 2,000 or less attack points, you're pretty much going to guarantee yourself an OTK because you can then attack with the Utopia, negate the attack with its own effect, drop Double or Nothing, get a second attack with Utopia, and it goes back in for 10,000 attack points, which is really insane. We then play 2 copies of Photon Lead. Photon Lead is a really good 2-of in the deck because it lets you special summon a level 4 lower light monster from your hand in face attack position, which is the only downside of this deck is you're very reliant on your normal summon in this deck because the deck doesn't have any Awalt monsters that can actually special summon themselves to the side of the field, which is a little bit unfortunate, but we do have Photon Lead to be able to play in the deck to special summon out a tuner monster from our hand or one of our other Awalt monsters on the field field to help a synchro summon, or even go in for extra damage, which is really good. We then play 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. We don't really need the extra deck all that much, so being able to banish 6 to draw 2 is really good in this deck to be able to just get more cards into our hand. So this card is a definite 3 of in this build. This card also helps out a lot because we don't draw a lot of cards in the deck, so this card comes in very handy because we're not going to draw any other cards outside of our copy of Pot of Extravagance anyways, so this card just comes in really, really handy. We then play 3 copies of Watt Train. Watt Train is a really cool card because it has the ability to add a Watt cards with different names from your deck to your hand, except Watt Train, up to the number of thunder monsters that you control with different names. So you can add upwards of 5 or 6 even Watt cards from your deck to your hand, which is really, really good in this deck to get to the exact cards that you need when you need them. So this card comes in extremely handy, and during your main phase, except turn this card was sent to the grave, you can banish this card from your grave to special summon as many Watt monsters as possible with different name from your hand, so it helps you get those monsters onto your side of the field really, really quickly. So this card is really, really good in the deck to be able to get it in the graveyard super fast by just activating it and then put it in the grave, banish it the following turn, which is a really good effect to just put out a bunch of monsters out on the field. We then play 3 copies of Messenger of Peace. Messenger of Peace is a really good card because all of our Watt monsters have less than 1500 attack points. So this card is really good to be able to put on the field because monsters with 1500 or more attack points cannot declare an attack. And this card has a really, really easy cost that you only have to pay 100 life points during each standby phase or you destroy this card. So this card is super easy to maintain and has a really easy maintenance cost on this card. So that's it for these spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Storming Mirror Force. Storming Mirror Force is a good 2 of in the deck. You don't really need 3 copies of this card. It's a great 2 of that just basically has the ability that when your opponent's monster declares an attack, you return all of your opponent's attack position monsters back to the hand. So if they do summon something that can attack through a Messenger of Peace, or you don't have Messenger of Peace on the field, you can just flip this card and bounce all your opponent's monsters back to the hand, which is absolutely incredible in this deck. We're playing 2 copies of Scrap Iron Scarecrow. This card is a really good 2 of as well, because this card has the ability when the opponent's monster declares an attack, you flip this face up, negate the attack, and then reset this card to your side of the field. So every single turn you have this card on the field, you're going to get to negate 1 attack, which is really, really good to be able to just stop your opponent from destroying your Watt monsters, because every turn you save a Watt monster, you're going to be able to attack again directly to do a little bit more damage. And you only have to do about 8 attacks directly to be able to close out a game with a Watt monster that has about 1,000 attack points, which is not that bad, actually. We then play 2 copies of Wall of Revealing Light, which is actually the reason I built the deck like this, because this card recently went back to 2. So this card is really neat because you can activate this card by paying any number of light points between 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, all the way up till you only have like 1,000 left, which is really good to be able to pay all the way up to like 7,000 if you're sitting at 8,000 life points. And monsters that have less attack points than the amount you paid for this card cannot attack, which is super, super unique for this card. Just absolutely amazing. Usually I'm only paying 2,000 because if you combo this card with Messenger of Peace, monsters with less than 2,000 attack points can't attack with Wall of Revealing Light, and then monsters with more than 1,500 attack cannot attack with Messenger of Peace, making it so that pretty much your opponent can't attack, which is really, really good for making it so that your opponent can't attack you with any monster, which is really, really good. But this card does not stop us from attacking, it just stops the opponent from attacking, which is really, really nice. We then play 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. The reason I play Solemn Judgment is just in case my opponent has something like a Twin Twister or a Cosmic Cyclone or a Harpy's Feather Duster, because this card has the ability that when a monster's would be summoned or a spell or trap card is activated, pay half your life points, negate the summoner activation, and if you do, destroy that card, which is very important for us to be able to keep our copies of Wall of Revealing Light and Messenger of Peace on the field to make sure that we can go in with our Watt monsters and attack directly over and over again while they're not getting attacked, because they're protected by Wall of Revealing Light and Messenger of Peace. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, since we are playing Extravagance in the main, we are playing a lot of 2s and 3 ofs in the extra deck. You don't go into it all that much but it is still here just in case you need it. So we're going to start off with 2 copies of Awalt Chimera. Awalt Chimera is a good 2 of in the deck because it does have 1400 attack points, so it's right under being able to not attack with Messenger of Peace. So this card is a really good card because it can attack your opponent directly, and when this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent by direct attack, you place 1 random card from their hand on top of the deck, which kind of comes in handy because they're going to be drawing the same card over and over again, so you can kind of lock them in with Awalt Chimera, which is kind of cool depending on what the card that they're putting on the top of the deck is, which is really, really cool. We then play 2 copies of Awalt Hydra. Awalt Hydra doesn't come up as much as Awalt Chimera, but this card can attack your opponent directly, and when this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent by direct attack, you can choose 1 card in your deck and remove it from play and add it to your hand during the second standby phase after activation of this effect, basically making it a gold sarcophagus, which is kind of neat. This card does come up every so often, but it does have 1500 attack, so you don't usually summon it when you have Messenger of Peace on the field. We then play 3 copies of Utopia Double. Just in case we see an OTK, you can detach a material, add double or nothing from deck to hand, make your copy of Utopia on top of it, and when you make Utopia on top of it, it comes out at 5000. Attack the opponent into a monster only, it cannot attack directly, and then you detach a material, negate the attack, and attack again, dropping double or nothing to let it go in for 10,000 attack points. And we also play the 3 copies of Utopia in the deck as well, because the 3 Utopias just come in really handy just in case you banish 1 or 2 of them off of a copy of your Pot of Extravagance, but usually it doesn't come up all that much. We then play 2 copies of Utopia the Lightning. Utopia the Lightning is a really good 2 of in the deck because this card helps you out just in case you banish your Utopia doubles or you draw in a double or nothing. It does come up every so often, but the card that I summon all the time in this deck, which I did consider playing as a 3 of, is Gaga Cowboy. Now this card is a really good 2 of in the deck because it has a really good effect that you just detach a material when it's in defense position and Cowboy for game for 800 points, which is really cool to help you out close out a game. This card is very, very helpful in the deck. I kind of considered playing it at 3 in the deck, but I ended up playing it at 2 because I play a single copy of Exciton Knight to be able to board wipe, which it does come up a lot in the deck to help you make the copy of Exciton to just board wipe the deck. But I feel like 1 is totally fine because if you don't play it, if you banish it, it's okay because then you play copies of your Solemn Judgment to deal with cards, or you play Messenger of Peace to make sure that your opponent's not going to attack, or even Wall of Revealing Light so they're not going to attack, which is really, really good. You can drop this card if you want to play another copy of Gaga Cowboy if you want to, if you find that you're banishing your Gaga Cowboys a lot in this deck. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really fun deck to be able to play with. If you guys have never played with Watt before, you definitely should because it's super fun to be able to play. It's fairly budget to be able to pick up the deck, which is really nice. And it's just really interesting to actually play Wall of Revealing Light in a deck. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.